Thank you for being here. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Dion. If you are back again, thank you for coming back. This is another polyamory video, dating and relationships video, that type of thing. I find the question when you meet someone, how long have you been single, irrelevant. As a polyamorous person, whether I am full-fledged single or if I have a partner, for someone to say how long have you been single is not relevant because I can be looking for an additional partner. So I'm not single anyway. And when I divorced my second husband for lying about cheating constantly, when I found out for sure, I had a gut feeling that something was off. And I kept wondering and questioning if he was cheating. And I dismissed it because we don't want to think that our significant other is cheating. Whether married or not, we don't want to think about that. But I kept having this nagging feeling in my gut that, he was out there running around. I found out for sure in the 4th year of our marriage that he was cheating. Like concrete evidence that he was cheating. I did some Google searches. I did a drive-by of her house. I had her license tag number. Anyway, I found out for sure in the 4th year of our marriage. And I wanted the marriage to work. And I told him, let's go to counseling and figure out, what's going on with you. Or if there's something you're missing from me, let's figure this out and work on fixing it. And he didn't want to do that. We did end up going to therapy after like a year. So this was the 5th year of the marriage. And he was not invested in therapy. He kept shutting down. He was not being honest. There were times he would just, literally he would sit there like this. And even the therapist was like, and I'm like, and so then we ended up stopped going to therapy, and I kept going. And then after a while, I stopped because then I started seeing a therapist at the VA hospital, who I still see occasionally. And about a year after that, the 6th year, I decided I was not going to live a lie. I was not going to be in this marriage and pretend to the outside world that everything was okay. And so he asked me one day, and by then, when I found out for sure he was cheating, he moved into the guest bedroom. He would spend most of his time in this part of the house. I would spend most of my time in that part of the house. We would cross paths in the hallway and cross paths in the kitchen. There was hardly any communication. So we were basically housemates for 2 years, well, 2.5 years. And so the 6th year, he asked me, he said, do you want a divorce? And I'm like, he just asked me that out of the blue. He was like, I have a question to ask you. And I'm like, yeah. He was like, do you want a divorce? And I'm just like, and I made it a point to keep my face like it is right now. But inside I was like, what the fuck kind of question is that to just ask me when you ain't talked to me all week? But I just looked at him and I said, I do. I said, being that it seems that you don't want to invest emotionally into therapy for us to figure out whatever it is that's going on, and me not wanting to continue to live a lie like everything is okay and it's not, then yes, I would like a divorce. He says, do you want to file or do you want me to file? Kept my face this way. Inside I'm like, so I said, I will make it easy for you. I'll file. He had a thing where he wanted himself to always look like he was the good guy. He was an attention seeker, and he would put down things that other people did to make himself look better. And I knew that about him early on in the marriage. And so I said, I'll make it easy. I'll file. I want him to keep his delusion that he's a perfect person. And so I told him, I'll make it easy. I'll file. His next question was, now mind you, he hadn't said really much to me in a week. And so for him to come up with these questions, in my mind, I'm like, he's up to something more than just cheating. Like he's planning something, or the other woman was planning something. He said, well, do you want to leave or do you want me to leave? And again, kept my face neutral. And I looked down, thought about it for about maybe 10 seconds. And I said, I'll keep it easy for you. I'll move. He said, when are you going to be leaving? I kept my face this way. But inside, I'm like, damn, nigga, like, what the fuck? Like, really, in my mind, I'm like, who asked these types of questions? Do you want a divorce? Do you want me to follow? Which one of us is going to leave? And then, like, when are you moving out? I was just like, what the? So, again, I kept my face neutral. And I said, as soon as I find a place, I'll let you know. I started looking around at apartments. I found one that I liked. The model that I liked, this was in February. What year was that? I think it was 2012. It was February 2012. I started, apartment shopping. I found one I really liked in like a week because I was on it. I'm like, you know what? This is clearly over. The model I wanted was not going to be ready until June 1st. And so I told him, I said, I found an apartment. So this was within 2 weeks. So I told him, I said, I found an apartment. I'll be moving June 1st. He said, okay. So I started shopping, because I left everything except the formal living room furniture because he never sat in there. And so that furniture was basically new. I purchased it when I moved to Delaware in 2002. And I still have it. And people see it. They're like, oh, this is nice. I'm like, I had this furniture in 2002. And they're like, damn, this look new. I take care of my stuff. And because he didn't go in the formal living room, so the furniture is still actually basically new looking, and it also feels new. The cushions aren't flattened or whatever. I digress. So everything else, I brought my computer, the formal living room furniture, and a rocking chair that I had purchased. Everything else I bought new. So as I was buying stuff, vacuum cleaner, dishes, glass sets, silverware, I was just, sitting the stuff in our garage. And so I laid out a tarp. So every time I would buy stuff, I would just stack it up in the garage. So that way when the movers come, everything right there goes in the truck. Formal living room furniture in here, goes in the truck. My computer stuff, I put in my car. Easy peasy, right? So when people would ask me, and just for shits and giggles, the girlfriend moved in 3 days after I moved out. I was friends with my neighbors, they told me. We knew all of our neighbors. We lived in a cul-de-sac. We knew all of our neighbors. 3 days after I moved out, she moved in. And I'm like, oh, that's why he asked me when was I leaving. Because she wanted, so he can tell her, so she can plan. Anyway. And yes, he still will deny to this day he ever cheated. It's a delusion. People are not that dumb. Anyway, so when I left, and I think at the end of the year, I started dating. And guys would say, how long have you been single? And I said, well, and actually I left in June. The divorce was final in October. So like around December, January 2013, I started dating, and people were like, oh, well, how long have we been divorced? And I'm like, well, divorced actually since October, but I left in June. But I knew in February that I was going to be leaving. They're like, oh, well, that's too soon. However long you've been in a relationship, if the total length of time you're married was 6 years, you need to be single at least for 3 years, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yo, wait a minute. All right, first of all, you don't know me, and you don't know how I process, okay? As I told you, well, not to them, but to you guys, I found out for sure in the 4th year of the marriage that he was cheating and kept lying about it. For another 2 years, I was trying to get him to invest emotionally into us working things out. I was still putting in time and energy into our marriage for another 2 years that he wasn't. And then when he asked if I wanted a divorce and who was leaving, that was in February. I left in June, so that was a total of 2.5 years that in my mind, I was processing, trying to work things out. Well, I'll say 2, because from February to June, my mind was get my shit together because I'm getting out of here. And so from the 4th year to the 6th year, that was 2 years where I was putting in into this marriage where the other person wanted. That was the time that I was processing okay, is this going to work? Is it not? Why is it not going to work? Is there anything else I can do? Well, apparently, no, it's not anything else I can do. And then I had to decide for myself the kind of life that I wanted to live. And I decided I wasn't going to live a lie or live my life that way with someone who's going to constantly just lie to me about anything, especially cheating, because then you're putting my health at risk because I don't know what you're doing out there or if you're being sexually safe or not. And so when people would say that to me, I'm like, I've already processed all of that. By the time I started dating, I had already processed that the marriage was over. And I really felt like I had done everything that I could do to make it work. And so when people say, how long have you been single? And if you say, oh, a couple months, they're like, oh, you need more time. You don't know if I've already put that emotional time in yet. You don't know if I put that psychological time in yet. You don't know what my thought process has been. There's a lot of times relationships are emotionally over before they're physically over. And I think that's what people don't understand. And so for me, asking me, how long have you been single is irrelevant because you don't know what time I put in to process the ending of that relationship. And so that's all I want to say for this video. And if you're a person who thinks it's a relevant question, let me know why you think it's relevant. If you think it's irrelevant, let me know that too. And I know people on both sides, but once I explain everything, they're like, oh yeah, you were like really over that marriage. I'm like, yeah, but I was still there because one, I was waiting, for my apartment space to be open, which was 6 months from the time he asked me when am I leaving. So it took 6 months for me to actually move out. But again, prior to that, it was 2 years of me living, him and I living as housemates, and then me realizing and accepting that he just was not going to put the work in. And so, yeah, that's my thoughts on that, and that's my experience with that. And so I'm finding it irritating now talking to guys, and they say, well, how long have you been single? I'm just like, and it's ironic because they'll say, and I don't ask how long they've been single because to me it doesn't matter because I don't know if they put the work in or not. So I'm not even going to get into that. Now, if we're face to face and you happen to mention it, then I might ask you, but that's not something that's on my mind is to say how long have you been single. But one guy who asked me that, he's like, oh, I've been single for 6 years, and they consider single dating but not in a committed relationship. So then are you single even if you're dating? I mean, you're still seeing somebody in my mind. And another guy was like, oh yeah, I've been single for like 4 years. And so I'm just like, it means nothing to me. So I'm gonna just leave that there. Let me know what you think. And maybe I'll do an article on this. That's a good topic, right? How long have you been single? Is that a relevant question? Thank you for that idea. I'm gonna do that. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Subscribe, click the notification bell. You will see me in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.